Welcome back to MotionPic Recap. Today we're going to recap the drama, romance and comedy movie titled, Working Girl. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. Every day, a girl called Tess is taking a boat from Staten Island to Lower Manhattan where she works as a stockbroker. She's hardworking, and despite it being her birthday, she will stay to work longer at the firm. Her boss and male coworker tell her that they have good and bad news for her. The bad news being she was turned down for the entree program again since she's competing with Harvard and Wharton graduates, while she only has some night school education and secretary experience. The good news is a guy called Bob in arbitrage is looking for an assistant who wants to have a drink with her, saying she should take the opportunity. People come up and congratulate her. She comes home very late, and as she does, she's surprised by her boyfriend Mick and other friends. Later that night, she tells Mick she'd love to get a gift for once that she can actually wear outside the apartment. Next day, she meets Bob, who says they are going to a hotel, a suite at Ritz-Carlton the boys get to use on a bonus basis. She asks if he is actually looking for an assistant, and he replies not really. Tess wishes him a good party, and gets out. Walking back to the company, she's out for revenge on her boss who recommended she'd meet Bob to get a better job, and everybody in the office laughs. Later, a woman tells her she'll not get ahead in life by calling her boss a pimp, saying this will be the last time she can help her. She's told she'll work for someone in mergers and acquisition, and next up, she arrives at her new place. She meets her boss called Catherine who seems fairly nice. Catherine asks her to get coffee for her, and as she delivers it, Catherine explains some ground rules, and asks her to not use so much jewelry to look more sophisticated. Later she takes them off, and a while later, she's summoned to take notes of ideas they discuss to increase the revenue of corporate customers. Suddenly Tess contributes with some ideas, saying she reads a lot of magazines to get ideas. One woman makes fun of her ideas, but as they're leaving, Catherine tells Tess to keep up the contributions. A few days later, Tess has an idea and comes to tell Catherine about it. She says she noticed one of their corporate customers, Trask Industries, is looking to buy into broadcasting, and she got an idea about radio. Catherine says Trask is looking for TV stations, but Tess explains so is everybody else. Radio would let Trask get a foot into the market, even though it's not as glamorous as TV, and there's a lot more radios for sale. Also, it would solve Trask's problem with the Japanese trying to take him over, since FCC forbids foreign ownership of radio. Catherine asks if she overheard it somewhere, but Tess says everything is her idea, and Catherine says good. Tess asks if it could be something, and her boss says she can take a look-see if she leaves her notes. Tess thanks her and leaves, and Catherine immediately starts investigating. At home, Tess tells Mick about Catherine, that Catherine takes her seriously, and that she finally feels like she's getting somewhere. The next day, Tess helps Catherine prepare for a trip to the Alps, and she tells Tess that she talked with some people and concluded Trask is dead set on television, but thinks her idea with the radio was great and wants her to continue coming up with ideas. Tess thanks her. Catherine then explains she's going away skiing and meeting a man who she thinks is going to pop the question. Next up, Catherine is skiing in the Alps as she suddenly jumps out and breaks her leg. She calls Tess, saying they won't be able to move her for at least 2 weeks, and needs her to postpone meetings, as well as let some workers into her home apartment, telling her the code for the front door. Next, Tess gets home to Catherine, and as she enters the apartment, she's stunned by the architecture, furnishing, and elegant designs. She sits down at her desk, seeing a recorder, which she plays, listening to Catherine's voice explaining ideas, messages, and other stuff. Suddenly, after hours, she suddenly hears a message to a Jack trainer at a merger and acquisition company, saying she'll send business ideas about Trask Industries. Tess checks Catherine's mail, and sees she's proposed the idea about getting Trask Industries into radio as her own idea, not Tess's. Saddened, she gets home early. She hears sounds as she gets in, and walks in on her boyfriend cheating on her, and she calls him Snake and leaves. Mick yells at her he's sorry and wishes she'd come back and hit him. She ignores him, and the next day, she decides on calling Jack Trainer, introducing herself as a colleague to Catherine, booking a meeting. Tess then calls around as a secretary, saying Catherine won't make it to meetings, but that a girl called Tess will attend in her place. Tess brings her friend Sin to Catherine's house, and she plans to borrow one of Catherine's dresses for meeting Jack. Sin notices it's worth $6,000, and Tess gets so shocked on being nervous for the meeting that Sin has to get some pills so she can calm down. That evening, Tess arrives at a fancy bar, waiting for Jack. A man sees her at the bar, and leaves his company to come over. He tells her she's the first woman there that dresses as an actual woman, and asks what she's doing there. She replies she's waiting for a man called Jack, and he tells her that Jack just left. She says she should be going too, but he insists they have a drink together. Tess reluctantly agrees, but as they start drinking tequila, they end up drinking more than one glass. Tess starts acting weird, and he asks if she's feeling well, and Tess says she's fine, but that she took some pills before to calm down a bit. Suddenly she sees her old coworker and tries to leave. She then sees Catherine's colleague, and asks him to get her jacket for her while she goes outside. He comes out to a cab, and notices Tess is almost unconscious, asking where she lives, but she doesn't answer. Instead, he gets her to his own apartment, having to carry her inside. He enters and puts Tess down on a chair. He tries to communicate with her, asking if she wants coffee, but realizes quickly it's a bad idea, asking himself what to do. The next morning, Tess wakes up in a bed, and realizes it's not her own. Tess tries to get up and get out without waking him. She takes a look at him before she goes, but as the alarm clock starts beeping, she runs out. Later, she's on her way to meet Jack, telling herself not to screw this up. She's led to the meeting room, and as she enters, the man from the other day is there, introducing himself as Jack. Nervous and a bit embarrassed, she sits down, apologizing for her cheap briefcase, after which she starts explaining her idea about Trask and radio acquisitions. One man doesn't like the idea, saying Trask is a target by the Japanese for having a lot of cash, and a radio station is small potatoes. Tess says she's thought about that, saying they should look for a high-profile radio network, and then use the surplus cash for a major stock repurchase, resulting in Trask being protected and their stock goes up and everybody is happy. Next she's telling Sin it went terrible, and how embarrassing it was with Jack. Sin apologizes she didn't check the milligrams on the pills. Suddenly she sees Jack, and Tess stressed begs Sin to pretend to be her secretary. She leads Jack into the office. Tess tries to explain what happened last night was not really her, but since she doesn't remember what actually happened, she finally bluntly asks what really happened. Jack says that the earth moved and the angels wept, scaring her a little, but then eventually says nothing happened. Tess says she woke up in her underwear, and Jack explains he kept his eyes closed the whole time. She asks if that was it, and Jack says he might have peeked, but can't remember, handing her a box. While she opens it, he explains he thought she'd need a better briefcase if they're gonna put this deal together, and she gets happy. Tess walks him to the elevator, and Jack explains he's found a mid-sized radio network in the South that has leadership trouble and is a good target and will go talk to them. A few days later, Jack has visited the radio company in Memphis, talking to Tess from his office, saying they will have to convince Trask to buy it for $70 million. And all the while, female secretaries are watching Jack change his clothes, cheering. They end the call, and Sin comes in. Tess tells her she noticed Orrin Trask's daughter is getting married tomorrow, and she figures she can get in and talk to Mr. Trask about the deal. Sin says she'll get herself fired if somebody figures out what she's doing, but Tess says she must do this if she's ever gonna get ahead in life. Suddenly Catherine calls, telling Tess that she'll be back in a week from today, and Tess is surprised since it's a bit sooner than they expected. Next up, Tess is talking to Jack, saying she's meeting Mr. Trask himself tomorrow to get him excited about the deal. Jack asks when they will meet him, and Jess says Mr. Trask is not expecting both of them. Jack gets upset, thinking she's trying to fly this deal without him, but Tess tells him to calm down, saying she's not trying to fly this without him and says he can come. The next day on their way to the meeting, Tess reveals it's actually Mr. Trask's daughter's wedding, and Jack immediately becomes a bit pessimistic. Once inside, they almost immediately run into Mr. and Mrs. Trask. Tess excuses herself to go to the bathroom, and Jack goes to get some drinks. A minute later, Jack comes into the bathroom upset, having figured out they're not even invited, telling Tess she's crazy. Suddenly the bride comes in, asking Tess if she loves or hates her dress, saying some guy named Mark told her it looks bad, and Tess says she absolutely loves it. Suddenly, Jack comes out saying she's glorious, fabulous, stunning and perfect. They go out, and walk up to Mr. Trask. Jack starts dancing with the lady, and Tess starts dancing with Mr. Trask, telling him she's been trying to set him up with a radio network, but says her bosses and people in his company are telling her he only wants TV. Mr. Trask says it's not true, saying he'd love to hear new ideas, and if she's got the right property, he'd love to talk more, and tells her to get in contact with his people on Monday. Afterwards, Jack says she's amazing. Next up, the two prepare for a meeting, and after the weekend, they get to Trask Industries and explain their proposal to two men. The two men, however, tell them another company just gave an offer to buy that radio network this morning. Tess notes the owners of the radio network practically consider the company as their own family, and cares what happens to it, and so if Trask can strike a deal with them, they don't have to enter a bidding war. The two men say Trask is not interested, but then the phone rings, and it's Mr. Trask, saying he's very much interested, and the men have to change their attitude. As they leave, Tess and Jack start kissing, and as they get home, they start to undress each other. Later, when they're having an intimate moment, Tess says she has to tell him something, but then the phone rings. Jack ends the call, telling Tess there's this woman he hasn't broken up with just yet, someone he was supposed to meet a couple weeks ago, but who broke her leg skiing and he hasn't had time to go and tell her he's breaking up. Next, Tess is stressed, having to fix a lot of things before Catherine returns home. She picks up Catherine arriving in a helicopter, getting her home. Catherine asks Tess for help to fix her up. A while later, Tess says she needs to go, but Catherine insists on her to go and buy her pills that she needs. Outside, Jack arrives in a cab, and as he gets in, she asks him to go get some champagne for them. He does, and Tess returns, hearing Jack being there, and hides. Jack returns with champagne, but then says he has to run, having a meeting. She insists him to stay, but he says there's someone else. Catherine gets scared, but Jack clarifies there's someone else he has to meet right now, and runs. Tess gets happy, and comes out with the pills, saying she has to run. Catherine suddenly notices Tess forgot her notebook. She opens it up, seeing she's meeting Trask, and starts screaming she's a slut. Tess arrives at Trask Industries, and meets Jack. Jack explains Mr. Armbruster, the owner of the radio network, is talking to Mr. Trask, and they're all waiting to see whether they'll get along. Suddenly, they ask everyone to sit down, and Mr. Trask starts thanking Tess and Jack for their idea and having brought them all there today. Mr. Armbruster then tells them that he and Mr. Trask have agreed that he'll sell his company for $68.5 million in cash and securities, and all the while Tess is teasing Jack a little. Suddenly Catherine's angry voice is heard, and appears saying Tess is her secretary and has stolen her idea about the Trask radio acquisition while she was laid up with broken bones. People start helping Catherine, and then tell them to hand her the papers so they can finish the deal. Mr. Trask asks who's really running this deal, and Tess starts apologizing and saying she's sorry, leaving them. Having no idea what to think, Jack continues the deal, looking angry at Catherine. Tess saddened goes home. The next day, she sees something in the paper. She's been fired from her job, and hugs her friends goodbye and leaves. On her way out, she sees Jack, and runs into someone. Jack says he's tried to find her, asking if their relationship also was part of the scheme, and she says no. Catherine appears, asking if those are more stolen files of hers. Tess tell her never to speak to her again, like they don't know what really happened. Mr. Trask and his men appear and Catherine says she's sorry he had to see all this, telling Jack to get on the elevator. Jack says not without Tess. As they're about to go up, Tess tells Mr. Trask to ask Catherine about the hole in the deal, showing Mr. Trask a page from the newspaper about Slim Slickers moving. Catherine makes fun of it, but Jack notes Slim Slickers is one of the radio network's major assets, remarking they'll lose big time if they don't make sure to lock them in before they sign the deal. Mr. Trask gets out, asking Tess to explain the situation. Tess shows him how she got the radio acquisition idea from newspapers, and how Jack helped her find the right radio network. They get off and meet Mr. Armbruster. As Catherine gets there, Mr. Trask asks her to explain exactly how she got the idea for Trask to buy up the radio network. As Catherine says she can't remember and must check her files, Mr. Trask exclaims he'll personally make sure that she gets the boot but good, and Catherine resentfully leaves them. Mr. Trask then notes Tess has a real fire in her belly, having to bend the rules to get where she's at now, and asks her if she wants to come work for him. Tess gets happy and accepts his offer, and Mr. Trask says he'll see her tomorrow. Tess and Jack kiss, and all the secretaries cheer. Next up, she gets to Trask Industries, and is pointed to her workplace, saying Miss Baxter will show her around. Tess sees Miss Baxter in an office, thinking it's her boss, and sits down outside. Miss Baxter comes out, saying she's sorry and was just using the phone. Miss Baxter then tells her she's sitting on her chair, that she has her own desk in there. Tess finally gets it, that Miss Baxter is her secretary. She walks into her office, and Miss Baxter asks what she expects of her. Tess says she expects her to never fetch coffee for her if she's not getting some for herself too. Miss Baxter seems happy and walks out, and Tess calls Sin, asking her to guess where she is. Sin stands up, and cries out that Tess has made it. The end. Thank you for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you'd like to see more videos like this, and hit the like button to help us out. Until next time, take care.